What's going on, YouTube? Today we're going to look at one of my favorite functions in Excel, Sumifs. Let's get it. Sumifs looks at a data set and adds up a numerical column based on criteria matched on other columns within that data set. What we're going to do in today's example is we're going to look at a list of employee hours that's showing us all the hours that each employee has worked throughout the month. What we want to do with Sumifs is add up all of the hours that a single employee has worked. Let's go take a look.
All right, so here we have a list of employees and the dates that they worked for, 5-6 days, and how many hours they worked in each day. So what I want to do is I want to list out all of my employees on the right here. So let's just make an area here. Let's go employee. And I'm going to type in all the names of the different employees that I have. Imran, Robert, and Albert. And what I want to do is I want to make a function in these three cells beside the names, and I want to calculate how much total hours each employee has worked. So for example, Imran, he's worked 8 hours here, 10 hours here, 6 hours here. So I want to make a function that's going to put that all together. So I'll start typing my formula in by hitting equal and typing in Sumifs. So Sumifs takes many parameters, but the first parameter that it's going to take is which range would I like to add if the criteria matches. So ultimately what I am adding up is the hours worked column. So I'm just going to select all of those cells and I'm going to hit comma. Now it's going to ask me, okay, well, what are you checking? If you want us to add in the D column, when do we add up the D column? So what I want to do is I want to check the B column here for the employee. So I'm going to select the B column from B2 all the way to B17. I'm going to hit comma. And now the Sumifs formula is asking me for, okay, in the B column, what are we looking for? Well, we're looking for a match on the employee name right beside here. So I'm going to close up the formula, but we're just going to think about for a second that when I drop this formula down to Robert and Albert, which things I don't want to change. So it's still going to be looking at D2 to D17. So let's just put in a $sign beside those rows. And also B2 to B17 should stay the same as I'm moving down. But we can leave this 2 unlocked because we do want it to look for Robert and Albert as I drop down the formula. So I'm going to hit enter here and I'm going to drop the formula down to Robert and Albert. And we'll see that the formula is still perfect. That it's still looking at the right area for the sum and the right area for the names. However, now it's looking for Robert in the second cell, and in the third cell, it's looking for Albert. So let's see if these numbers came out correctly. I'm going to add in a filter to my data set here by going to data and filter. And let's just sort perhaps by the name column. And for Imran, we can see that all of their hours add up to 48. And that's what our Sumif formula is returning. So this is a really nice way to add data with a criteria using Sumifs.
So that was fun, but let's get complicated.
All right, so now in our data set, what we're going to do is actually include another column. And that column is going to tell us which activity all of these individuals were working in when they worked these hours. So what we'd like to do is, instead of an hours column right over here, I'm going to actually make the activity columns and write them out. So let's write development, and let's write bookkeeping. So what I want to do is I want to write a Sumifs formula inside these cells that's going to tell me how much each employee has worked for that specific activity. So we'll start typing in our Sumifs formula, and in this formula as well, we're going to be looking at the hours worked column. So I'm going to select all of those cells. And in this situation, because I'm going to be copying my formula to the right and down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock all of these cells. So you can just hit F4 when you have your cursor in these cell references, and that will add a $sign in front of your columns as well as in front of your rows. All right. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to say that we're still looking for at the name column. And again, I'm going to lock this reference by hitting F4. And I'm going to say that I'm looking for the name in this column. So I'm going to hit comma, and I'm going to select the employee name. And that basically says that look in the red cells for the purple cell, Imran, and then wherever we find a match, we're going to add up all of the blue cells. However, now what we want to do is we also want to check the C column or the activity column. So I'm going to hit comma, and I'm actually going to give another criteria range. And you can virtually give as many criteria ranges and criterias as you'd like. So now I'm going to select the activity column, and I'm going to lock that as well. And I'm going to hit comma, and I'm going to say that in this activity column, I'd like to look for this word development. Now, one thing to consider here is that when I scroll down, or when I drop this formula down, I want this to stay locked on 1. I would like the G to change to H when I copy it over to bookkeeping. However, I want this 1 to stay in place. So in front of the 1, I'll add in a $sign. And similarly, when I'm looking at the name, although I'll be looking at F3 and F4 for Robert and Albert, the employee name is always going to be in the F column. So I'm going to type in a $sign in front of F. Now that my formula is complete, I'm going to close it up with a parentheses and hit enter. And we'll copy this formula to the right as well as down. Now, we'll just need to validate that our formula is working. So I already have it sorted by name. What I'm going to do is I'm going to perhaps only select one activity from our filter. Let's select development. And for Albert Einstein, we see that there's 3 rows, which equal up to 25. And in our Sumifs formula, we have Albert Einstein for development at 25 hours. Now, we saw that Robert went away because it's filtering based on this list. But even for example, Robert, if we have bookkeeping, I'm going to hit Control and select the other 2 bookkeeping entries. And we can see that equals up to 24. And in our Sumifs table, we have Robert, bookkeeping, 24 hours. So that's how we make a complicated Sumifs formula looking at 2 criteria.
Alright guys, so that's the video. I hope you saw the power of Sumifs. If you liked the video, like, comment, and subscribe. And remember, you put the fun in functions.